I'm a player, 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 oh, I'm a player. If you see me looking clean cut, matching from head to toe, dipping with a mean strut.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Ghettofabulous Warhammer. Today we got another elf-on-elf battle, I'm afraid, although this time it's high elves and dark elves, so a little different. Besides, elves are popular, so you might as well get used to seeing them. I've played enough, though, now that we're starting to broaden our horizons, and we're moving into scenarios. So this will be my first scenario mission, and we're going with Battle for the Pass at 2,500 points. Here's my opponent's army, with a nicely painted Frostheart Phoenix there in the middle, and most of the rest in progress. You may notice there's a dragon on the left there, and he has a prince riding on him. I didn't get his full list, but here's what I encountered, so it should be pretty close. The prince only had a 6-up invulnerable, but he had the +3 strength sword. Not sure what the thought process behind that was. I guess kill whatever you're up against before it hits you back. He didn't have a level 4, just a level 2 on high magic and a level 1 on shadow, which obviously I assume will give me the edge in magic since I've got level 4. And yeah, in general, shadow's not too bad for me. I didn't like seeing him roll up Arcane Unforging. I hate that spell, especially with my Pegmaster with the Cloak of Twilight. But we'll see if we can avoid losing my items. I've never faced a Frostheart Phoenix before, but I've seen them thrash plenty of other players, so I was kind of excited about that. Seaguard I wasn't so worried about. They're just spearmen with bows, so they're killable. But I hate Phoenix Guard. They are very difficult to whittle down, and I don't have the massive melee troops to eradicate them melee, so they're always a pain. With my army, I've moved my level 4 to death from metal magic. Just again, those two lores both appeal to me. I kept the grounding staff and the 5-up invulnerable. I rolled up all the snipe spells, thankfully, so I'll get to fully utilize death magic for what I've intended, really targeting characters, which is one of the hard things I have with my army. I've got the 2 Pegmasters and a BSB on a horse, 3 crossbow squads, and I added the Flaming Standard to one of them just in case regenerating enemies. I don't encounter them too often with my regular opponents, but in an all-comers list it's important to have. And I've got plenty of shooting. I just need something in the shooting phase to drop regeneration off as a threat. I dropped my 2 Hydras. They just weren't, they're fine, but they're not great. And I used the points to plus up my Warlock and Dark Rider squads to a full 10 each. I've still got the 4 Bolt Throwers. And finally, the 2 squads of Shades at 6 and 8 points. Again, I had a few left over from dropping the Hydras, so just bumped one up to 8. In fact, I added armor to the 8-man squad, just kind of trying to get the list done. I had a few points left over. Once I have a little more time to fully think it through, I'll probably find a better use for those points. I'm still building up models for the Warlocks, so you may notice a few proxies. That's why this is Ghettofabulous Warhammer. Decent amount of terrain on the board, with some forest, hills, and impassable rock formations. I won the roll-off for sides and chose the top half of the board. I think it was mostly because of the impassable rock formation that would hopefully force advancing units to split one way or the other, and whichever way they chose, I could either avoid or harass as appropriate. So, initial thoughts on the battle. Like I said, I'm still torn between death and metal, and this battle will be a challenge in some regards as I don't have a spell to nuke blocks. Purple Sun isn't going to cut it. Metal would help against the dragon and the Silver Helms, but death will help snipe the characters, so kind of a wash maybe. The narrower board with Battle for the Pass may be problematic against other armies, since I have less room to maneuver. But because he's got the dragon, he has fewer units and just higher point ones, so he can cover less frontage. So I might be okay. I've never faced a dragon, and I'm unsure if I should target it first and try to kill it, or if I should run with my regular plan of killing chaff and small units to free up my mobility and then harass the larger blocks to death. He's got 3 tough units to kill: the dragon, the Phoenix Guard, and the Frostheart. So I'm still concerned that my army's weakness of bleeding points every turn and being unable to completely annihilate those large chunks could cost me the game. With all of his flyers, I may utilize the depth of the deployment zone and put some of my crossbowmen squads back a bit, making it tougher for him to get out of my shooting arcs and get to my bolt throwers. Here are my lines with the cavalry spread across the front. In fact, everything for the most part spread out quite a bit. But I have my 2 pegmasters on my left, the bottom of the screen there. The enemy lines are also fairly well spaced out, except it would appear his slower infantry is mostly arrayed to attack along my left. So he's picked a side, so now I can react appropriately. And a bit more zoomed in, you can see a squad of warlocks in the front with the 2 pegmasters behind, 2 squads of crossbowmen behind that, and finally a bolt thrower on the hill towards the center, and another in the far corner in the forest there. On my right flank, you can see the Dark Riders with BSB and the level 4 in the center, the 3rd squad of crossbowmen, and the other warlocks on the far right. Another bolt thrower is behind them, and the last one is also on the central hill there. The enemy lines to my left, starting with the Phoenix Guard, level 2, and BSB. There's a Great Eagle behind them, and the Frostheart Phoenix behind that. Next is the Lion Chariot, and then the Sea Guard with the level 1 is in the center. Next is the Dragon with the Prince, 2nd Great Eagle, and finally the 10 Silver Helms on my right flank. You'll notice my 2 Shade Squads have already been placed from scouting, so they're there in the backfield. Overall, things look pretty balanced. I figure I may have a shot at sniping his lord with my level 4 and the bolt throwers if I try to target them. And I can try to set up a turn 2 charge on his chariot with my 2 pegmasters. There's not a lot of other options for them, really. I don't want him charging in the blocks. I don't want him charging in the dragon. But if his lines stay roughly the same as they advance, I should be able to annihilate that chariot at least, get some points, and then burst through to avoid a counterattack. My shades scout in, either to finish off the Great Eagle or harass the dragon. I assume volume of fire may slip some wounds through. I win the roll for the first turn, and I take it. The shades move up, this with angles so that they can target either the eagle, the silver helms, the dragon. Gotta keep my options open. The warlocks, the Dark Riders, and the level 4 move up to possibly shoot the dragon. My left flank shuffles up a bit, with the pegmaster spreading out to allow charges on the chariot, while hopefully disguising the plan by not making it too obvious. Looks like a lot of advancing, but everything should be able to run past his charge arcs next turn or flee and keep me safe from melee. Magic comes up very strong, 12 dice to 6, so I'm pretty excited, but he burns his Dispel Scroll on something, probably a Doom Bolt or something. And ultimately, I only get Soul Blight off on his dragon. Shooting only wounds the eagle to my left, but it kills the one on my right. Had to use both the Shade Squads, unfortunately, so didn't get as much done as I'd hoped. Most of the rest of my shooting went towards the dragon and failed to do anything. It looks like it may have been a mistake to target up front, and I think at this point that I'll probably just target the softer stuff the next couple turns, try to either mitigate the damage of the dragon or avoid it. On his turn, bottom of 1, he charges his silver helms at my warlocks. It's kind of a long charge, but I didn't want to bother with it, so they flee, and the dragon moves up to ensure multiple charge options next turn. Everything on my left flank advances, but fortunately, it appears the charge path to his chariot is still open for my peg knights, so they'll be safe from any counter charge. I could charge the eagle or the Frostheart Phoenix, but I think they'll be better targets for my shooting. So, at least it's the hope. We'll see how it plays out. Magic, thankfully, comes up 4 dice to 3, and I dispel all of his attempts. So, at least that part of the plan is going well. Top of turn 2, and both the peg knights make it into Lion Chariot, so I'm assuming that battle should go pretty well for me. My shades move up to shoot the silver helms, as do the dark riders, again with the level 4 and BSB in tow. Unfortunately, there's plenty of targets for the dragon next turn, but what are you going to do? I should have enough shooting on my left to kill the Great Eagle. The Frostheart Phoenix is out of charge range, so at least I'll get another turn to shoot at it and try to kill it before it causes any problems. Pressing forward on my right, and I'm giving ground on the left. It looks like I've got the dragon pretty well surrounded, but he's very low on my priority list right now, so looks good, but he's being ignored at this point. Magic comes up 8 dice to 6, but nothing of consequence happens. I think I got Caress of Laneth through on his prince, but failed to wound him. Or, well, whatever. Maybe I rolled a couple wounds and I don't know. Regardless, nothing of consequence. Shooting, however, does kill the wounded eagle and puts 2 wounds on the Frostheart. And between the 14 shades, the 10 dark riders, and a bolt thrower or 2, I managed to kill 5 of 10 silver helms, but they hold. Overall, though, not a bad round of shooting. The silver helms are getting to manageable size and are worth some decent points. Both the eagles are gone, so it's going to keep my bolt thrower safe. And the Frostheart is well on his way to dying. The 2 pegmasters easily dispatch the chariot, and they reform to face the Sea Guard. I don't want to charge the Phoenix, as I still think he's best dealt with by my shooting. And the Phoenix Guard I'm going to ignore to the very end due to how tough they are to kill. So I'm hoping I can charge the Sea Guard with multiple units, maybe some of my fast cav, and break them. Then I'll just try to whittle things down with shooting. And I think taking that unit out, the Sea Guard unit, will be a good test for my up-strengthed cavalry units. In the past, I've run them just with 5. I put them up to 10 each just to get a little bit more melee punch in because it's quicker to annihilate units. So we'll see if it works. 3 strength 6 D3 wounds on the charge is nice. So the Cloak of Twilight Lance Master is great. Even when he failed his fear test on the charge, it was still enough to help win that battle. Bottom of 2, and the dragon charges my immobile bolt thrower. Can't run with that, so he's got a pretty much guaranteed charge there. His silver helms charge my crossbowmen. At first it was kind of iffy, but I thought, I've got a decent chance in this fight. I'm steadfast, if nothing else. Well, maybe if he doesn't kill too many. So I stood my ground and shot. Shooting killed 1, and I think another died in the forest on a dangerous train check. So down to 3 to 12, and those odds I think are pretty good. The rest of his army continues to advance, and the Sea Guard end up out of my Pegmaster's charge arc. Not a big deal. I didn't want to charge in without some support, so I'll have to wait till turn 4 to do that. Magic comes up 8 to 6, but his options are limited as I don't have much in his front arc. Ultimately, he does get Drain Magic off, but he just casts it so he can buff the Phoenix Guard's ward. Looks like I mixed up the arrows here. Yeah, his Sea Guard, not the Phoenix Guard, actually shot and killed 4 crossbowmen. In melee, I lose 1 crossbowman, and I don't kill any of his silver helms. I end up losing by 1 because I have a banner and he doesn't. But I passed my leadership test with steadfast, so we're good. And this is incredible, but his prince and dragon managed to kill my bolt thrower crew, and they overrun into the next one. And I don't like this. The dragon, again, should murder my bolt thrower crew on my turn, and then he has an easy reform and can charge pretty much anything in my army. And there's not really much I can do to stop it. Top of 3, and I set up to blitz the Sea Guard. There's 28 of them, along with the level 1, versus my Pegmasters, my BSB, my level 4, and 10 Dark Riders. I think I'll win. Should be able to win. The question is how quickly. I don't want to get stuck in combat and maybe have, say, the Phoenix Guard or the Dragon come over and catch large chunks of my army static. The Shades move up to help, and the smaller group moves towards the Silver Helms in case the crossbowmen need some assistance. I'm not sure where to put these guys, so they just hang out. The Warlocks, I mean, they can at least magic the Sea Guard, or maybe get charged by the Dragon. Whatever. They gotta go somewhere. Same deal here. The Dragon gets to charge whenever he wants, so there's no real use in running. I think things are going pretty well, with just a few more of the smaller units to eliminate. The Sea Guard, the Frostheart, and the Silver Helms seem doable. The rest, the Dragon, the Phoenix Guard, not so much. 4 dice to 3, which is not a powerful phase. But I am able to snipe my first character with Death Magic. So the level 1 with Shadow is gone. Who's next? Shooting fails to kill the Frostheart, dropping it to 1 wound. Dang it! Just like the Dragon, he's got a pretty good chance of obliterating a unit next turn, so that's not good. Kill a handful of Sea Guard with shooting, maybe 3 to 4. With 2 bolt throwers down, or 1 dead and 1 in combat, another one with poor line of sight behind the hill, my shooting phase is suddenly not nearly as effective as it used to be. Which means the Frostheart is, the Phoenix is going to hurt next turn. In melee, my crossbowmen kill a Silver Helm, and we break them, but we fail to catch them. The Dragon kills my second bolt thrower and reforms to face the Warlocks below them. Maybe they'll get a few wounds through with poison attacks, maybe? Due to the angle, he may have a tough time overrunning into my squad of crossbowmen. So, at least if he wins, we may still slow him down a little bit. Bottom of 3, and the Sea Guard do a swift reform. They go 5 wide to get as many ranks as they can to slow me down, and I'm going to get shot in the face to boot. The Phoenix Guard and the Frostheart both charge the crossbowmen. I didn't think this fight was going to go well. I know the Phoenix Guard looked a little out of range on the Battle Chronicler map, but it was an easy charge. They were fine. Remember, map not drawn to scale. This is Ghettofabulous, so it's just just to paint a picture, make it a little easier to follow. And finally, the Dragon charges into the Warlocks. This round is going to hurt. It sucks to get cornered and caught, so I have to pay the price for having lots of small, weak units. His Silver Helms, surprisingly, continue to flee. The only positive is that the majority of his army is now deep into my area. If the Phoenix Guard don't reform after this combat and come back to help the Sea Guard, I may be able to slaughter the Sea Guard, run, and still pull this win off. Magic is strong, 11 dice to 7, but again, his options and spells are kind of limited, so he only gets off Drain Magic to boost the Phoenix Guard's ward save, which is, again, fine. I'm not going to kill them anytime soon. Shooting only kills one of my Dark Riders, so I'll only get slaughtered here in the melee phase. That should reduce the pain, right? No, it's pretty painful, as the crossbowmen die without doing anything in return. He doesn't reform the Phoenix Guard to help out the Sea Guard, and the Frostheart doesn't reach the Warlocks with his overrun, so I guess that's something. The Dragon uses his breath weapon. The Prince hits, the Dragon hits. It's brutal. The Warlocks flee, and he pursues. I don't recall if he caught them or if they ran off the map. Either way, they're dead. They're out of the battle, and he's not facing anything to charge next turn. So at least the Warlock's valiant sacrifice bought me a turn of extra shooting. While not good, it went about as well as possible. If we kill everything but the Phoenix Guard and the Dragon and stay away from the majority of my army, I think I can still win this. Top of 4, and my Shades and Crossbowmen advance. Mostly get better shots against the Silver Helms, and also just to get away from the rest of his army. The multi-charge goes off without a hitch, except the Pegasus models don't quite fit. I gotta get them elevated or adjusted or something. Not much moving going on over here, although the Warlocks move up to either Doomfire the Frostheart, Soulblight the Sea Guard, something. Now it all just hinges on how quickly I can kill the Sea Guard, or if he'll try to save them in time. 8 dice to 4 for my magic phase, plus my level advantage, so I should get a couple spells off. And I end up getting Spirit Leech and Caress off, and between the two I snipe his level 2 on high magic. Looking at this, I realized I could have sniped his BSB in subsequent turns, except for whatever reason I completely forgot about him until writing the report. I'd considered soul blighting the Sea Guard, but I kind of wanted to get the Wizard while I was in range. I was all excited about sniping characters, probably with the goal being to wipe out that squad more quickly. Soul Blight would have been the better option. Again, looking back in hindsight, but I wanted to snipe something. I did. I sniped 2 characters now. It was great. Now I just got to snipe the Prince because I've forgotten about the stupid BSB. Shooting puts 2 wounds on the Dragon and 1 on the Prince, so that's good. They can be hurt. I just need to put a lot of shots into them. We also nuke the Silver Helms, and we shoot down the Frostheart Phoenix. So, a very successful round of shooting, cleaning up all those little odds and ends, and a few bonus wounds on the Dragon. Melee is pretty brutal. I kill about 12 Sea Guard, and I lose 3 Dark Riders in return. My Masters didn't do quite as well as I'd hoped, but the Dark Riders did pretty well in return. Overall, it's a good win, but he passes with his Steadfast without any problem. And, I did lose a few riders. Losing Strength 4 and a few attacks next turn means I may not break his Steadfast next turn, and I may be stuck around for a little bit longer than I want. Bottom of 4, and he swift reforms his Phoenix Guard to about face and try to save the Sea Guard. They're awfully close, and that's not good. The Dragon turns to face my Crossbowmen, probably because they're worth a lot more points than the Bolt Thrower. The turns are certainly moving more quickly now, since we got so many fewer units left on the board. And of course, what I dreaded, I flub a bit. I only kill 4 of his Sea Guard, and I lose 1 in return. It's still a win, but I'm running out of time, and I can't kill I don't think, the Phoenix Guard in melee. Top of 5, and not much for movement, although I moved the shades up to help in melee if needed. I got plenty of space, but just kind of keeping my options open. My warlocks still have plenty of options for magic or charging, and they're not really at risk at this point. Magic, 4 to 3. So not overpowering, except he doesn't have any mages, so his dispel is going to be pretty ineffective. Ultimately, I do what I probably should have done earlier, and I put Soul Blight on the remaining Sea Guard. Shooting puts another wound on the Prince. The dragon, the dragon showing 6 wounds. When last turn it had 4. I think we bumped it up. Well, at some point we realized we had been assuming it had 6 wounds. He double checked at 7. So you should have bumped it up 1. But I don't know why it's up 2. And it's odd, but it will get even odder soon. Melee goes great. I kill all but 2 of his Sea Guard. I lose none in return. And I decide to overrun with my 2 Peg Masters, or pursue with my Peg Rat Masters. I catch the fleeing unit. Great, full points. And I get my units farther away from Phoenix Guard. Overall, a mobile melee threat is something I've lacked, and I'm starting to think it's a bit more important. Shooting and magic kind of whittle things down. I don't kill them quickly enough sometimes. It's not a major threat, my melee, but it's something. So I can clean out units a little bit quicker. Bottom of 5, and the dragon charges. The crossbowmen fail their terror test and flee. Not sure how he failed to catch them now that I think about it. Regardless, you'll see the dragon's wounds are now at 5. We mistakenly had him roll for dangerous terrain. I think it's mistakenly. I think charge. Well, I don't know. Because he ended up in it. Charges can be done with flying, but fleeing is done in pursuit is done with on the ground. I don't know. Maybe you can put some comments below. The Phoenix Guard charge the Dark Riders, and they flee. The Phoenix Guard then redirect to my Pegmaster, and he also flees. They're all in range of the BSB, so please let them rally. I don't want to lose a unit at the end of the game when everything else is going pretty well. Top of 6, and my Warlocks move up to Doombolt the Dragon, and everything else rallies and moves away. I thought about trying to shoot the Phoenix Guard, but I wasn't going to kill enough of them to make them test. And I forgot about the BSB to snipe, so I just got away and let him go. Magic wasn't great, but 5 dice to 4 is enough for a Doombolt, and that puts another wound on the dragon and kills the prince. And at that point, I was pretty excited. It's like, hey, the prince is worth a lot of points. That's great. And then one of the more experienced players was telling me that I guess technically you have to kill both the rider and the mount to get the points, which is kind of crap as far as I'm concerned. But hey, if that's how it goes, I don't have much left to kill the dragon with, but we'll give it a shot. So really what it boils down to is I've got 1 bolt thrower, which isn't a lot to kill a dragon with. And considering the solid shot has no chance of killing it outright, I guess we'll throw the multi-shot at it and hope to get 4 wounds on 6s. I get lucky, and I get 5 hits, so the tension is high. Can I get 4 6s to wound? And yeah, actually I did. I rolled 4 6s, and he failed all 4 of his 5-up saves. Of course, now I'm not sure if I should have killed it because of the dangerous terrain check oddity and the fact that 2 wounds magically reappeared. So it's all kinds of crazy. But at the time, it was incredible my moment of triumph, and I loved it. Ultimately, though, with my score here, we'll assume the dragons survived, and I won't get those points. But at the time, it was awesome. Damn it. Anyway, we don't bother with the bottom of 6. His Phoenix Guard isn't going to catch anything, and with the dragon, that's all he has left. So, overall, went pretty well for me, obviously. Looks like my list will be very tough to totally table a strong enemy list with, but should be pretty reliable at winning. Ultimately, we end up with a Dark Elf victory. I didn't include, like I said, the Prince and the Dragon because of the uncertainty. I still wish I had remembered the stupid BSB. If I had known about the scoring stuff, I probably would have ignored the Dragon with the Doom Bolt instead tried to snipe the BSB. Probably much better chances, point value, statistically speaking. So, what did we learn in this game? Overall, my general battle plan for the army works well, and in fact, it may have been even more effective, but I let myself get kind of psyched out and excited by seeing a dragon and trying to kill it with my first turn. With about half my shooting and all of my magic. The Star Dragon's tough. I don't know. I haven't faced any other dragons. I think the Star Dragon's one of the tougher ones, but it's a beast. I think I should treat it like I do other tough targets and just avoid it and mitigate it at first until I can clear out most of the enemy's units. Death worked fairly well, but it's not as easy or overpowering a character killer like I thought it might be. It's not as predictable or reliable as some of the other lores. When you cast Caress or something, you're thinking, well, 2d6 minus what, strength or toughness. I should get several wounds or several dice, and then I got to roll 4s to wound, and then a lot of times they're going to get a ward save, and there's a lot of chances in there to get some poor rolls that end up making even if you get your 1 or 2 spells through, they may not do much, if anything. I was very pleased with the larger cav units. More flexible in some ways. I mean, you'd think if you have lots of little units, they're more flexible, but having a larger unit is more flexible in that it can resist damage a little better. It can melee much better. It still moves around well and can harass, and it protects some of my points a little better in that, again, they're harder to kill. Actually, with the Warlocks, it's kind of nice having the extra rank, getting to cast at level 3. Doom Bolt isn't a cheap spell. I think it's difficulty 12 maybe. So that +1 does help a little bit. Conversely, I didn't miss the Hydras much, which is what I lost to bulk up the squads and get a few other odds and ends. So I think that was a good choice. They wouldn't have helped me much at all in this battle, I don't think. In fact, the fewer deployment drops now, losing the Hydras helps me get the first turn, which makes my shades more effective. And with 3 vanguarding units, I can still kind of keep my overall deployment somewhat uncertain for my opponent. So it's all working very well. Finally, one of the most important points, I forgot to use hatred this whole freaking game. All those free rerolls gone, which would have made, well, especially that Seaguard battle, go much better. But even I could have maybe slipped a wound through on that Frostheart Phoenix. Who knows? Who knows? I've never forgotten it before, but I usually avoid melee with most of my units, so I don't know. It just slipped my mind. We were kind of focused on since they both have always strikes first. They don't, neither unit gets melee or gets rerolls for that, so I didn't think about rerolls because I have hatred. We had the High Elves reroll all of their leadership checks because they had that special ability, but for some reason I slipped up there. So that's important. Got to remember all those special abilities to make your army as effective as possible. As always, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Again, I think there's probably a couple rules issues there I could use some thoughts on. Again, there's a lot of strategic and tactical thoughts out there, more experience than I have, so any advice is appreciated.